Yeah, so after Uni we are now building Uni VCC.
Yes.
How did we get there? This University Venture Capital Coalition. You're coming from OUVC, right? The Abu Dhabi University Venture Capital firm. How did you figure this out?
So I wanted to solve my problem. And my problem was when we launched the first university venture capital fund in Hungary and in the region, my problem was that I didn't have access to other university venture capitals, their experience, their best practices, and I felt alone and I wanted to learn. So I thought there must be a platform, like a collaboration between these players, where they share knowledge and experience. But to my surprise, I discovered there is none of these. And
Well, you spoke also to some university venture capital firms across the globe.
I did. So I reached out and I asked them. That's how I got to know that there is no coalition between them. But for the record, all of these Uni VC players were very approachable, very colleague-like, supportive. So they try to help, they try to explain how they are doing what they are doing, but it was not like a structured layer. And I went deeper and deeper into this problem. Like, what about fundraising? How do you fundraise your next fund as a university venture fund, or how do you fundraise your first one?
And how do you know that actually you have a good running fund?
Yeah, how do you benchmark? Is there any best practices on university IP protection, IP policy? Are there any best practices or market expectations on the equity stakes that a university holds or doesn't hold in their spin-off, and so on? So these are the main ones. And yes, there are some studies, reports, conversations on this, but I couldn't find a systematic approach to this. And so that's when I got a little obsessed with this problem, and I couldn't believe that there was nobody who wanted to fix this the way I wanted to, and that's the origin of the thought, the origin of the problem discovery.
Yeah.
In my journey.
Could you share a bit more because they normal VCs, they have a clear thesis, but they also have a clear goal. Basically, it's just making basically the funds that they're getting from the LPs, and to make that to either double that or triple that or quadruple that in size.
Yeah.
What is that for a university VC?
Yeah. So they have the same goal in terms of returning the investment for the LPs, but they have additional goals. And any university has basically two major goals, of course, education and research. It's that simple. But when innovation comes into play, then you have different KPIs. Basically, you want to lift up your university and your researchers, provide them a route for commercializing their research to reach commercial success. Why do you need that? Because financial returns, visibility, and the attractiveness of that university from other researchers and investors will increase. So by launching their own fund, they can achieve both goals. So that's the overall logic.
Got it. And when we founded the venture studio, Uni you realized this gap in the market, and we actually had this German ecosystem builder called Deep. They gave us a lot of tools and insights, right? They really banged their heads together and like really how does this work? How would we like to build this up? What is your best insight from this? What is your most memorable thought about it?
Yeah, so as you said, we started with Uni which is co-building startups on a venture studio model. So we have experience in building early stage companies. And then I had this, let's say, obsession with the university venture capital topic, which I shared with you. And then I discovered, actually, I was not invited, but Imre Hild, the CEO of OUVC, sent me a note that, hey, do you know this initiative run by Deep Ecosystems? That's their name, the German Ecosystem Accelerator Program. And I honestly, I did not know them. And it turned out that they run a ecosystem accelerator program in Hungary. And then we applied, we got accepted into the program, and we went through the first intensive 2 months. And my key takeaway was basically they put our thoughts into structure. So this gave us a focused approach, a systematic focused approach to reach our goal.
Yeah, for me it was very confronting that we were thinking completely in a wrong perspective. That the clients or the customers or the consumers that we wanted to tackle, that actually it was not them, it was the whole ecosystem. We were thinking from a venture studio perspective, perhaps,
Exactly.
or from a client, from a supplier to a client, but we are not neither the client nor the supplier. But we are building the ecosystem. So that was a real eye-opener.
I like that input,
Yeah.
because yes, almost all the players in the startup and VC ecosystems, their target audience is either the startup founders or the venture capital funds, maybe accelerators. So you either are fundraising for a startup, or you are a startup fundraising for yourself, or you are a VC investing and fundraising for your own funds. That's it. But what we do is different. Basically, we connect these players, and again, a very important differentiation. There are many platforms who connect players, right? There are very good ones. Usually they connect startup with investor. So it's a fundraising focused approach, which is fine. Our initial approach is to connect the university VC funds. As a second layer, yes, obviously we want to invite the portfolio of these funds, the spin-offs, to make themselves visible for other university funds and for investors from the market. And question to you, how do you see Uni VCC or the coalition, how does it connect to Uni or does it? Is it connected or is it a separate thing? How would you explain that?
Well, in a way, Uni when we started, it was a venture studio. Well, we talked already earlier about how we got to know each other and how we actually got to build this venture studio. But then we realized that it was not really a venture studio. It was rather like a
venture building.
Venture building, something besides just the studio itself and the clear structure of the studio. And currently, out of that actually came the Uni VCC. That said, Uni is still more of a service company, I would say. Currently, we're very much focusing on the Uni VCC, but Uni can become more of a service company. Think about accelerators, think about the venture studio concept itself, how to help startups, how to help the spin-offs basically commercialize, all of these elements basically. But it's not an end. There's no limits to this. It can become anything basically. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think what we would need to explain to our audience is what is the gap that we are trying to fill. What is the shape and form and size of this gap that we believe we can fill?
From a European perspective, Mario Draghi placed it nice in the reports. I think last year it was. That we need to be more competitive in Europe. But from a global perspective, it would be a fantastic opportunity for VCs to have a good deal flow, very highly focused, but also for LPs that they can see what's happening basically in these in the research basically sector. On the other hand, it would help current university venture capital firms to see if they're actually doing well, because there are a couple of funds they are doing extremely well, and a couple that we don't really know if they're doing well enough. And also for a lot of universities that do not actually have a VC yet at this moment, and that might like to start one. They might have a TTO or might not, or it really depends on how they are looking at this. And this is, I would say that this is predominantly the focus of the Uni VCC. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And what I think what is missing is the infrastructure. So it's not like, just to clarify, we are not here to tell a whole industry how to run their business. There are outstanding universities, overachieving university venture capital funds, and there is a whole momentum, I think, in the whole academic sector that more and more of the players would like to launch their own fund or fundraise for their second or third or fifth fund. So the gap, what we are trying to actually build, is the infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, it's not just a network, right? It's an actual digital platform. This is important, I think, because that's the glue. That's how you execute on the network. So we need a platform that is neutral, very safe, and extremely easy to use for all the things that you have just listed. So connection, swapping, blueprints, playbooks, co-investments, one universe. So it's fragmented market, right? Some players are doing co-investments, but most of them are not. What if all the universities could see each other's deal flow and co-invest? What an opportunity it is. And then also, if we provide this infrastructure, as you said, we can provide a single entry point for all the market VCs, like all the VCs, non-university VCs. Like, here's a single entry point through which you can actually have access to an up-to-date deal flow, which is deep tech mainly, right? And also for LPs, like all the institutional LPs or even family offices, now they could see all the upcoming funds, first-time funds, second time, and so on. Would be a huge opportunity again. And we should also mention the policymakers, which is another, I think, as an industry, as a niche industry, but very powerful industry. We need to make sure that policymakers hear what's happening and they are informed. And again, it's happening, and I will share some of the experiences from last week from Sevilla.
Yeah, because you went earlier this year. You went to Sevilla, indeed.
Yeah. So so the European Commission with the Joint Research Center invited me for a policy making workshop, and I presented our journey and what we are about to launch. But what was very exciting is to learn from all these key stakeholders, plus researchers, Uni VC funds, and institutions from all across Europe, actually approving all the assumptions we had.
Yeah.
And what I saw was that there were like 10, 20 outstanding researchers presenting their findings from university venture capital. But there was no merging or meta-analysis of this data. So policy making is in a bit of a trouble. Like it's not very easy to draw the right conclusions from different sources.
Yeah,
yes,
indeed.
you have data, but you have different research methodologies. It would be great to actually take this to a next level and say, let's sit down with the policymakers again and say, let's define what kind of input you need, right? What kind of data you need. And now we as a community, we can provide that data in the structure you need it. So why is it important to give precise and up-to-date input for policymaking? Because then they can actually support the cause. They can actually do things that will
Bring actual change.
Yes, and will be impactful. And one example is EU INC, a new kind of legal entity for startups all across Europe. That's huge. Or to name another one, the new $500 million euros fund for late stage investing initiated by the EU. These are components of this ecosystem, and how much more we could achieve as an ecosystem if only we pull together and share the data.
So if I may summarize you, so basically the platform that we're building is for universities with or without a VC, for basically ecosystem players, research, but also accelerators. It is for policymakers to see what's happening actually in this world. It's for market VCs, and it's for LPs that might be interested in the higher meta layer.
Exactly.